waters are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Bit earlier at about 7 a.m., a group from the Coast Guard.
Welcome to #PHVote 2013.
Today on Rappler, China tells the Philippines to remove its stranded ship from the Ayungin shoal. Justice Secretary de Lima hits back at Senator Jinggoy Estrada. And another false alarm, floating debris spotted in the South China Sea isn't from the missing Malaysian plane. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Tensions increase in the South China Sea. China demands the Philippines remove a ship that ran aground in Ayungin Shoal. This comes a day after the Philippines filed a protest against China for chasing away two of its ships in that disputed area. A stranded Philippine warship remains in Ayungin and now serves as a base for Philippine military forces. The military says it used an airplane to drop food to these soldiers in Ayungin after the Chinese Coast Guard blocked two Philippine ships from delivering supplies. China says the ships were loaded with construction materials and accused the Philippines of building structures on the disputed area. The shoal is located in the West Philippine Sea or South China Sea, the subject of a historic case that Manila filed against Beijing. On Wednesday, China says the Philippines is, quote, making unfounded countercharges by staging the so-called protest. The United States slams China's moves in the disputed shoal. A U.S. State Department spokesperson, Jen Psaki, says this is a provocative move that raises tensions. For our social media post of the day, Filipina Vicky Tauli Corpus is named the new United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous People. She comes from the Kakanay tribe of Mountain Province and considers herself a proud Igorot. Filipinos praise her appointment. Playamos says, this is no surprise if you met and lived with the proud people of the Cordilleras. If our leaders were Igorots, they would have protected our economy, culture, and heritage from foreign domination. Anonymous says, I hope she can shoo away those miners that destroyed the indigenous people's homes in Palawan, Mountain Province, Samar, and many more. Last year, power distributor Meralco imposed the Philippines' highest power rate hike in history, an increase of 4 peso 15 centavos per kilowatt hour. The Supreme Court temporarily stopped its implementation, but Meralco's power hike highlighted the problems of the energy sector. Among them, the possible collusion among industry players, flaws in the structure of the wholesale electricity spot market, or WESM, and gaps in regulation. Meralco attributed its rate hike to the shutdown of the Malampaya plant, but simultaneous outages of other plants also drove the prices up. Some groups accused the power sector of collusion, but Meralco's head of utility economics, Larry Fernandez, says the shutdowns of other plants were unexpected.
In terms of the impact of the Malampaya outage on power rates, you're correct. That has been anticipated. I think one difference that we had in the outage for late last year was that it occurred simultaneous with some scheduled maintenance of some large power plants. Last year was an election year. We actually had two elections, the national elections and the barangay elections.
Yes.
And during those periods, the power plants were asked not to perform their maintenance during those months, the election months, because our election system depended on reliable power. What we did not foresee was the level of forced outages or unscheduled outages that happened in the last 2 months.
Asked why power is so expensive in the Philippines, Fernandez cites data from a consultant that show the country's power rates are at par with Singapore and Western Australia. He also says power in some countries are subsidized by the government.
One, the rates in the Philippines are very similar to the rates in Singapore and Western Australia, but those three are higher than the rates in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Taiwan, and South Korea. And according to a study, about 80% of the difference was due to subsidies that the utilities in those countries received from the national government. So in effect,
Fernandez says the Philippines
cost
depends
to
on
produce
natural
and
gas
deliver
and
power to
coal-fired
customers
plants,
is
but
still-
adds the Philippines needs more power-generating facilities to bring down electricity rates.
There were the major recommendation to bring down power in a significant way, the cost of power in a significant way, was for the country to add more and more efficient, additional and more efficient generating capacity into the system. So the key is for the country to incentivize the building of additional and fuel-efficient generating capacity. And that will help bring down prices in the Philippines. So to an extent, we also need as a country to look at our fuel mix and perhaps diversify our sources of fuel to also address our dependence on any kind of fuel.
Justice Secretary Laila de Lima says Senator Jinggoy Estrada is, quote, barking up the wrong tree when he claimed that he and two other senators implicated in the pork barrel scam are being tried by publicity. In a privileged speech Wednesday, Estrada hit the credibility of whistleblowers in the scam, where he and others are accused of stealing public money. Estrada also criticized what he called prejudgment and trial by publicity against him. But de Lima says the publicity is, quote, not brought about by the DOJ, but the very nature of the subject matter. She also denies Estrada's allegation that witnesses are being coached to pin the administration's enemies. Senator Bong Revilla accuses the Aquino administration of plotting with its congressional allies to lift term limits in the 1987 Constitution. Under previous administrations, President Benigno Aquino opposed the move. Citing a source, Revilla says the administration's allegedly pursuing the move because of the weakness of their potential candidates in the 2016 elections. The senator cites his source as saying the administration plans to, quote, tinker with term limits to ensure that they'll remain in power beyond 2016. Revilla is reportedly eyeing higher office in 2016, but says he has not made up his mind about it. Revilla, who faces plunder charges for the pork barrel scam, has repeatedly accused the administration of political harassment. It's another false alarm on day 6 of the search for the missing Malaysian plane. 2 Vietnamese search planes find no trace of Flight 370 near the site where Chinese satellites spotted floating objects thought to be debris from the plane, which vanished Saturday with 239 people on board during a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. On Thursday, a Wall Street Journal report suggests the plane flew on for about 4 hours after it lost contact. The report, citing U.S. aviation officials, says this is based on data automatically transmitted from the plane's engines. Malaysian investigators deny the report. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 2, Ukraine prepares to seek the help of U.S. President Barack Obama against the threat of Crimea joining Russia. Ukraine's autonomous region is set to hold a referendum on switching over to the Russian side. The group of 7 industrialized nations warn against Russia's annexation of Crimea, with the U.S. freezing assets and imposing travel bans on Russians as sanctions. At number 3, a major explosion caused by a gas leak flattens 2 Manhattan apartment buildings Wednesday, Manila time, killing at least 7 people and injuring 63. It took an entire afternoon for firefighters to completely extinguish the fire. For some New Yorkers, the explosion sparks reminders of the 9/11 terror attacks in 2001 that brought down the Twin Towers. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio calls, quote, a tragedy of the worst kind. And at number 8, scientists say they found an elusive mineral that suggests the existence of a vast reservoir deep in the Earth's mantle. Scientists believe it may hold as much water as all the planet's oceans combined. The evidence comes from the presence of the mineral ringwoodite, which thrives on water. Scientists say ringwoodite comes from the so-called transition zone sandwiched between the upper and lower layers of the Earth's mantle. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Astronomers say they've spotted the largest yellow star ever observed in the galaxy. The yellow hypergiant star HR 5171A is 1,300 times larger than the Sun and also about 1,000,000 times brighter. Although it's 12,000 light years from Earth, the star can be seen with the naked eye. Yellow hypergiants are very rare, with only a dozen or so known in our galaxy. Every story in Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page that crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers and viewers the most emotionally. These 10 stories on the front page have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meters. If you take a look, you have what happened in New York yesterday, and you can see this came out much earlier. The death toll, 63 hurt as New York buildings collapse. You have 53% afraid and 27% sad. And here you have the follow-up, 58% sad, 2 New York buildings collapse. That's from the Wrap today. And then if we take a look, again, another story you saw in today's headlines, 5 scenarios. What happened to the Malaysian Airlines flight? You see the same 2 emotions, 17% afraid, 65% sad. That gray bringing out the mood of the day. Today, most people are sad. Well, that is Rappler's newscast for today, Thursday, March 13th, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.